You want to delegate outcomes. What do you want to happen and not exactly how to do it, not the tasks that need to be done. So learn how to delegate is definitely a skill.
Alex, welcome to the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast, I should say. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you.
Good. Been looking forward to this one. So let's jump into it. If you would, introduce yourself, talk about your company and where you're located and the kind of work you do.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you, first of all, for having me. Excited to be here. Looking forward to it. So my name is Alex Gregg, owner and operator of Gregg Homebuilding Company located in Franklin, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville. And we focus primarily on new construction and single-family homes, and we do both custom homes and spec homes.
And Franklin, Tennessee, I got to tell you, I don't know if I've told you this, but if Lori and I, my wife, were to move, it's probably going to be to Franklin, Tennessee. That's one of our favorite places in the country.
Yeah, it's a great town, born and raised, and just love it. Love living here.
Yep. Big fan of Arrington Vineyard is not far south of you, I think. It's
it's a great spot. Great place to go have dinner and a glass of wine.
Great place to catch a sunset overlooking the vineyard there. Yeah. So let's talk about your career. You have kind of a non-traditional career. You took kind of a right turn in the middle of your career, but talk about your career, your background, how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, just I've always loved houses. I remember sketching houses in ninth grade physical science class, drawing up front elevations of homes, and had a job with a local builder here in town, and got to sweep out houses and clean up the exteriors and screw down subfloors, and was going to go head into architecture at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, but had the opportunity to play baseball at Belmont University, which is located in Nashville. And the closest thing they had when I met with the advisor was engineering physics. So that was the major I went with, and did a brief stint in mechanical engineering out of college and grad school, but decided I want to get into high school teaching. And so I was a teacher and an assistant coach for basketball and baseball for 5 years. And then I just had the itch to get back into home building. Talked to a few local builders here, and I got hooked up with Pulte Homes and started my building career there. Learned a lot, and got thrown into the fire, and then I moved on and worked for a more local production builder. Did that for a stint, and then I got hooked up with a custom builder, and really learned a lot about the business side of things and how to do that. So in 2008, my wife Amy and I decided to start our own company, and did that for a few years before I hooked up with a really good friend, and we had a business partnership from 2011 to 2019. We built several houses together, learned a lot, and in 2019 decided he wanted to go a little bit different direction, different kind of level of house. And so essentially we just rebranded in 2019, kept the employees that we had, and been operating as Gregg Homebuilding Company since then.
So started a business in 2008. That would probably surprise people to start a home building company in 2008.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What would you say, were there any benefits or good things about starting a company in 2008?
Yeah, a lot of times when I bring that up to folks I'm talking to, they say the same thing, and wow, you got started in a great time, and to be honest, it was probably a good time. If I would have gotten started a couple of years earlier, got a little overconfident, may have been had too many spec homes going, and then may have had some trouble since I hadn't built a good foundation for the company at that point. And so I started out small, was able to cherry pick off a few lots. At that time, really didn't think or didn't really know we were in a recession. It was, it's a little bump in the road, and things will come back to normal. But worked out of our master bedroom, and had a desk in there, and worked out of there for a few years. So start small, and really helped focus on cost and understand your cost and what it was going to take. And at that point, the subcontractors were very hungry, so you could get the guy, make a call and have him there sometimes that same day. So we just gradually grew and just I think starting out with a real awareness of what your job costs are was a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So over the past year and a half or so, you've grown the custom home building side of your business significantly. You were doing more specs, and you've made a strategic and a very intentional decision to build more custom homes. Why did you decide to move in that direction?
Yeah, definitely are focused on custom builds now, and still leaving some room open if we find the right opportunity to do a good spec home. Still love those, but I remember one of my former employees, the custom home builder, who's now one of my best friends. Remember him telling me that the customs, helped get him through the last recession, and then I'm in another custom builder council of local builders here in town, and I remember one of those builders saying that it helps him sleep at night, with the custom builds, and spec homes can be great, but they are risky, and definitely felt some of that, as the market's changed a little bit here. Working with the clients and letting them finance the construction is definitely a little safer play. And then also, when you're building spec homes, would always be in the mindset, well, let's sell this spec home first, and then we'll start the next one. And what that did was, felt like it created gaps in revenue. So there would be long stretches where, you wouldn't be getting any revenue. And so that created challenges on the cash flow side.
Seems like folks are either one or the other. A lot of the people I talk to, they either build spec or they build custom. Not a lot of people build both. And the people who only do one or the other, they typically think the grass is greener on the other side. Like, oh wow, I'm a spec builder. It would be great to not have the risk of customs and not have to carry all that risk. But then custom builders would say, wow, it would be great if I didn't have to deal with customers. And if I didn't have to deal with selections and all of that crap, if I could just do my own deals and then sell it at the end. If somebody asked you, Alex, how do I figure out what's the best approach for me? Should I build spec? Should I build custom? Should I if those are the two options, how would you help them figure out what's best for them? Is it a personality type? Is it their subcontractor base that they have, their staff? What should people think about to help them determine whether they should focus on spec or custom?
Yeah, those are all great questions and things to consider. First of all, I think building homes, no matter what the case is, but especially in custom, when you're dealing with a client, custom homes, you have to be patient, and you have to remember that most of the time this is the largest investment that these folks have made, and so it's a very emotional process. But I think the approach that I would recommend is that if you can build systems and get those in place to accommodate and help build custom homes, then you apply those same systems to building a spec home, and essentially you're the client when you're building a spec home, and so still need to go through all the same steps. And so again, focusing on the systems, and if you do that, then that's just going to help the custom jobs go a lot smoother.
Yeah, I want to talk about some of the keys to the growth of your success. But I think there's this misconception about the custom building process, that it's basically that custom building means the customer has it their own way. They can make selections whenever they want to. They can make as many changes as they want to. And putting any sort of constraints on the customer in a custom build is bad. What do you think about that statement? If somebody said, you know what, these people are investing $2 million, $5 million, we're going to let them do whatever they want, and we're just going to chase them around, and it's like Burger King, it's have it your own way or have it your way. What would you say to folks who feel like builders who feel like they need to let their clients have it their way?
Well, I would say that there's only a handful of people out there that can go just build anything they want to build, that have the kind of budget and the resources to go do that. And so, in my experience, I feel like most people, they don't want to make every single decision because they get decision fatigue, and so they want you, the professional, to help them make decisions, and they don't want to have to go research all the different types of manufacturers and all the different choices. Just it's overwhelming, and so they want to lean on your experience and your guidance and what you've been doing over the years to figure out what is the best value, what is the best product for the best price that's going to make them happy. And so I feel like, if you can guide them and take some of the decisions off the table for them, that helps them. But then let them focus on the things that they like to look at. So, like light fixtures and cabinets and tile and all those sorts of things. And so I think giving them some guardrails is really a good thing, and helps them through that.
You use the term decision fatigue. What
Mm-hmm.
what does that look like? What are the symptoms of decision fatigue with a client?
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about this in a second, of the pre-construction agreement and how important getting a lot of decisions made on the front end is. But the way I've seen that play out is you make some decisions on the front enough to get started, and then go through the process. And construction is stressful in itself, and then they still have decisions to make at the end. And you talk to customers like, I don't care anymore, just do whatever. And so they get tired of making those decisions, and it is stressful on them, and they do get fatigued and get tired of making those.
There's a misconception, I think. I think a lot of people believe, I don't think, I know a lot of people believe this because they've told me. These are builders who've said things like, in passing, they'll say, well, construction, it's just chaotic. And construction's always chaotic. And there's this belief that construction is always going to be chaotic. It has to be chaotic. What do you think about that? Does construction have to be chaotic and stressful?
Well, I think there's always going to be a certain level of stress to it because of a lot of times the customers haven't been through this, and the unknown can be sometimes stressful. But I think you can build systems and process and into the way you do things, and that's going to make it that journey. That they're going to enjoy that, and they're going to love doing that. And I remember when I first got started, or even before I got started, hearing people say that they built a home and they never want to do that again. It was just the worst experience, and that has always kind of motivated me to make sure that the process is good, and that they can enjoy that, because it can be a great thing to see, the house, start getting framed up, and then the drywall go on, and it's just exciting to see those sorts of things. So if you can really build those processes and make the journey a good one, that can be an enjoyable experience, and hopefully they'll come back and want to build with you on the second house or the third house.
Yeah, definitely. So you've been very strategic and intentional about growing the custom build side of your business over the past year and a half. What would you say have been some of the keys to success? What has worked well for you in growing the custom building side of your business?
Yeah, I would say first of all, planning ahead is huge when you're building a house, and so we've implemented a pre-construction agreement, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But just getting the customer to buy into the planning ahead, and really helping them make decisions, asking questions that they don't even know to ask, and really trying to get as much information on the front end, and so we can set the build up for a smooth process, and then that leads into nailing the handoff, where we hand off the project to our construction team with as much information as possible to help them just schedule the subs and get the materials there, and they don't have to wait on decisions. And I've always thought that momentum is so huge in construction, and it's like once you lose that momentum, it's hard to get it back. And so just having all that information on the front end is huge. And then another question that I always ask my clients, or prospective clients, before we start working is, what are you looking for in your builder? And one of the top answers is always communication. And so communicating with the client throughout the process is just something you have to do if you want that to go smoothly.
So you mentioned a pre-construction agreement. I think we'll talk about this in a few more minutes, but you're talking about getting paid for pre-construction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a concept that you introduced to me years ago, and we started implementing that maybe in 2019. A lot of people, a lot of contractors, want to just get a number so they can get the job and get started, and they don't want to put in more time because they're really not getting paid until they sign a contract, and so kind of flipping that script and like, hey, we're going to invest this time now so we can set up the project. And so that is going to take a lot of time. It's not just going to be a couple hours to figure out what a house is going to cost, especially these days with as many selections and choices and things that people see on Pinterest and Houzz, and so you have to really figure out what the client wants and what they want in their house and what's going to make them happy, and so you got to invest a lot of time in that. So it's hard to do that when you're not getting paid for those services, and so you're really cheating the customer if you're just trying to throw a free estimate at them, and then 75% of the way through construction, they end up $100,000 over budget, and so that nobody wins in that situation.
This topic of getting paid for estimates it's probably the only thing I get hate for on the internet. Somebody called me a greedy rich guy talking about getting paid for estimates recently, which is a very emotional topic for a lot of people, getting paid for estimates. So you said you're cheating the customer by giving them a free estimate. How some people would say, whoa. I feel like I'd be cheating the customer, getting them to pay me for a free estimate when everybody else is giving estimates away, or I'd be cheating the customer for getting them to pay me for an estimate when everybody else is doing it for free. Why do you feel like you'd be cheating a customer by giving them a free estimate?
Well, I've in the past I've lost a few jobs to other guys that have come in lower than us, and I've heard from the customers or through other subcontractors that the jobs have gone terrible and that they've ended up firing their contractors, and it's because they're over budget. They didn't know that this or that was not included or included, and they just didn't really understand what was going to be in the house. And so if you don't put that time in on the front end and don't really help them understand what it's going to cost and what they're going to get, then you're not doing them a favor. And it can turn, and it's such a big investment. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. There are a few questions that we talk about asking customers or prospects to get them to see the value in paying for pre-construction because it's in their best interest. And one of those questions is, hey, have you ever heard of about a project that doubled in price? And another question is, when would you like to know what you're going to get and how much it's going to cost? In the middle of the project or before you even get started? And most sane people would say, you know what, I'd really like to know exactly what I'm going to get before we even get started. Then I'd really love to know how much it's going to cost me before I get started. And so that's the real value. That's a really tough one for people to wrap their head around. What was there one thing that helped get you over the hump to charging for pre-construction, or was it just a no-brainer for you?
No, it took me a little bit to get over that hump. But once I could explain to the client that hey, whatever we charge in this pre-construction agreement, if we get involved early enough, especially if we can be involved in the plan development, the plan design, then we can probably help value engineer whatever that cost, out of the project, and can help save you money. There's been situations in the past before we start doing that where you got a set of plans that you looked at and you're like, that's not going to work. They're not going to be happy with that, but they've already spent all this money with the architect, and you don't want to kind of go backwards and create more money for them. But then you get into construction and they want to change, and that just always costs more as you get further down the road. It's easier to change on paper than it is when you have concrete poured and 2x4s up in the air.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff. All right. So let's switch gears a little bit. There's a story that I've asked you to tell several times. Can you tell the story about Kent Hooper and how that story has helped you articulate your vision to your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I was first of all, just to kind of set that up. We were at a live meetup that you were hosting a couple years ago or a year and a half ago, and the topic of a vision, came up, and I was thinking, sat there for a minute. I remember thinking that I didn't really have one. Just do things right, and everything will take care of itself. And just, hey team, just trust me, and but I remember hearing other guys in that live meetup say, you've got to have a vision. You got to put that on paper. And so I created that vision statement, and I think it's second quarter last year, and ended up presenting that to our team in early May. And we were talking, I think you and I were, before I was going to do that, and you said, do you have, a lot of times it's presenting, sharing a story is the best way to convey the message. And so you asked me if I had a story, and one immediately popped up in my mind. And a couple months prior to that, we were at dinner. Amy and I, my wife, were at dinner with some friends, and I look across the restaurant, and former homeowner Ken Hooper was there with, I guess, with his family, and he got up to walk to the restroom, I think, and he passed by our table. I was like, "Hey, Ken, how you doing?" And stood up and shook his hand, and he immediately gave me a big hug, and looked to to everyone at our table and was like, "Hey, these guys changed our life, and we just love our house, and just yeah, they're great. Their team is great." So, and the interesting thing about that, I mean, we didn't have a perfect process by any means. I remember having a warranty issue with a septic tank. The lid had been cracked, and he got kind of tense even, and but we ended up taking care of that. And so him to share that after the fact, it was awesome. And he had a handicapped daughter, and so we did a bunch of things in his house to help her, from a curbless shower to in her bathroom, putting the countertops lower in the island so she could eat dinner with the family. Setting up a countertop for her. And then he was in the music business, and he has now a recording studio. So we did a lot of things to help set that up for him, and been in his recording studio. It's awesome. And so yeah, it's just great to hear that. And so recently I had a handoff on a project to our construction team, the one we were just starting, and I shared that story again with the team, and was like, all right, now if we fast forward 12 months from now, and we look back on what we've done for these next clients, what's the story we're going to create for them? And so the Ken Hooper story is one that I try to share with the team, and just to remind them that about our vision. And so our vision, I'll share that with you, is to create a home building experience that exceeds the expectations of our clients and the families we work with, and as well as the people that help make that happen. And so hopefully we can do things to help exceed those expectations for our clients.
How do you feel like that story about the impact that your work had on Kent Hooper, how do you feel like that telling that story helped your team? How did they respond? What did it do for them?
Yeah, I think it just helps bring, real things, real emotions to what we're trying to do. And, you get bogged down a lot in the day to day of construction, and, subs don't show up, materials show up broken, and you got to deal with all these things. Well, in the end goal, we're trying to build a home for a family that's going to live there, make memories. And, you want this journey to be a great one. And so then they can move in and just have a great experience in one of the homes that you built. So just hearing those story of real people, and just how it brings the team together, I think, and gives them that vision of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I've had a couple of experiences. I remember one was a big office building that we had developed for Valvoline, actually, and I'd worked on this project for about 18 months, and it was a grind. Constant changes. Every time the CEO walked through the building, a wave of changes would follow a couple of days later. And it was just a grind. and very complicated project. And I remember walking up to the ribbon cutting ceremony, walking by this beautiful building thinking, man, I am glad this thing's in the rearview mirror. It has been a pain in the ass. And all I could focus on was the negative stuff. And I turned to the corner, and there are 300 Valvoline employees standing there waiting for this ribbon cutting ceremony. The mayor was there, and the governor of Kentucky was there, and the CEO was there. These people were just excited. They couldn't wait to get in their new space. Had lots of natural light and a fitness center, and everything was just great. And I felt so convicted because I completely lost sight of the people that we were building this thing for. Ultimately, it was for people, and they were going to sit there, and our work was going to have impact on them. So I think it would be a great idea to get concrete guys and iron workers and framers and electricians to go to these ribbon cutting ceremonies and see the impact that they're having on people. I think that's a big disconnect, is we forget, why are we doing this? Why are we just pulling wire and nailing 2x4s together and nailing down shingles? Like, there's more to it than that. We're actually having an impact on people. So I love that story. I still get choked up every time I hear that story. But I think sharing how the work you're doing has an impact on real people is incredibly powerful.
Absolutely.
So speaking of vision, I know one of the things you've been very intentional about for the past year or so is improving as a leader. So let's talk about that. Why is that important to you? And then what are some of the things you've been specifically focused on to become a better leader?
Yeah, well, first of all, just looking back now after we've done some of this work together and implemented some of these systems, I realized that I definitely needed to be a better leader. And it's not something that you really go to class for or learn in school or of how to be a leader. Some people just naturally pick that up, but I realized that I need to be a better one. So, I've learned from other guys and gals and, your programs and mastermind groups and our CEO Alliance that we're involved in, and just hearing some of the things that they do, they've inspired me, hey, I could be doing this and to help our team, be pulling in the same direction. And I do read a lot of books and listen to a lot of podcasts and I've had to develop habits and routines that'll help me become a better leader, and I had to learn how to control my emotions. I remember, before, several years ago, something's not going exactly the way you want it to, you get frustrated or angry or upset, and that just, you don't lead very well from that position. And so, and then another huge thing is you got to be a better listener. You got to learn how to listen and hear what people are actually saying, and not always be focused on what you're thinking or what you want to get done. And so you have to slow down and listen to your teammates. And then one thing that a skill that it is definitely a skill is learning how to delegate. Delegation is hard, and learning how to, a lot of times you just want to say, well, if I want it done right, I got to do it myself. And so that's just the easy way out, I think. And so the better way to do it for long-term success is to learn how to delegate and teach, those that are around you how to do those. And one thing that we've learned is in delegation, as we talk about a lot, is that you want to delegate outcomes. What do you want to happen, and not exactly how to do it. Not the tasks that need to be done. So learn how to delegate is definitely a skill. Share a brief story. A couple weeks ago, we had a pool contractor come to try to get our business, and we're talking to him. I was introducing him to Brad, who's our estimator, and Suzanne, who's our selections coordinator, and Lee who's in charge of our construction team. And so I went around and introduced them, and I'm like, and what do I do? And so I'm here to help them, and so I help these guys do better at their jobs, hopefully, and clear obstacles. And so my job as a leader is to help them succeed.
I want to unpack a couple of things. You said that you realized that you needed to be a better leader. What did you see or hear, or what led you to believe that you needed to be a better leader?
I always felt like the team was pulling in different directions, and so why was that, and it starts at the top, and it starts with whoever's leading the group, and so to get people to buy in to what you think is the right way, what that vision is. It's not, you just can't say, hey, here's how we're going to do it and force it down their throats. You got to get them to buy in, and so learning how to bring them into the process to give their input, because we've hired a lot of great people, a lot of smart people, and if you're not trusting their decisions, their input, then they're not going to want to follow. And so yeah, just getting people to pull in the same direction, and just that have being frustrated, I guess, were the reasons you look back and you're like, well, I wasn't a very good leader because those things were happening.
Yeah, I've heard it said that self-awareness is like hugging a porcupine. The closer you get, the more uncomfortable it becomes, and it's real easy to say, my team sucks and these people don't want to work and they don't get it and they're whatever. But when you start looking in the mirror and realizing, all right, if there's a problem, it's probably me. That's pretty uncomfortable. But I think that's the place to start. And ultimately, if you're the leader, it really probably is. It's on you. Even if it's your team, who hired those people? And who trained those people?
Yeah, right.
And who set the expectations? So I think that's important. You mentioned the importance of delegating outcomes instead of tasks. That may be a little fuzzy for some people. Can you give an example of what delegating tasks might look like versus delegating an outcome?
Like right now, working with our construction team, what do we want to happen? An outcome that we want to achieve is going to be, want to build on time and build on budget, and then instead of saying, hey, you need to go do this, 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 and this, hey, here's what we want to achieve. These are the main things we have to focus on, and let them, figure out how to get there. Now obviously you want to give them some guidance and some guardrails on how to get there, but keep I think commander's intent is a phrase that comes out of extreme ownership, just helping the team understand the why behind that. And so if you start with outcome and then let them figure out how to get there.
Why does that work? What have you seen from your team when you've delegated outcomes instead of tasks?
Well, I would say, again, buy-in is critical. If they're just doing it because they want you to do it, that's why the boss said to do it. They're not going to buy into that. And so if they can understand the why, then they can a lot of times get behind that. And again, with the vision, why are we doing this? To exceed the expectations of our clients. And so if they can buy into that, then they're going to be motivated to go make that, make those things happen. And so buy-in is critical. And I think when you delegate the outcome and trust them to figure out how to make that happen, then they just, if they feel trusted, that's when you're gonna see those effects and those take place. So.
And that's tough because that requires letting go of control. Mm-hmm. And you're probably talking to some folks who struggle to let go of control. They're listening to this thinking, I would love my team to buy in. I would love them to take more ownership, but I just don't know if I can let go of the reins. I'm reluctant. I've been burned in the past. I've had people screw me over, let me down, steal from me in the past, and I just struggle to let go. What would you say to that person who's really struggling to let go?
Well, first of all, I was definitely guilty, and probably to some degree still am guilty of that. I always want to make sure everything's going right and things, things go well, and just you want to be in control, want to be involved in everything. But what happens is you become the bottleneck. Every decision, if it has to go through you, then that's going to limit your growth. And so I was the bottleneck a lot of times. And again, you're not going to be able to grow as a team. You're Your team members are not going to be able to grow themselves. And I heard that plenty of times over the years that they want to be able to grow. And so if I'm always have my hands on everything, then it's preventing them from doing that. And so you have to get to the place where you can let go, and you have to be, it takes a little bit of faith and a little bit of trust, but ultimately, if you can do that, then you're going to have long-term success.
Yep, absolutely. We've seen that over and over and over again. So let's see. We've been working together for about a year and a half now. I'm curious, what were some of the main problems that you were having before we started working together?
So first of all, just inconsistency year to year. You'd have a couple good years and then you'd have a down year. You're like, why am I doing this? And then you'd have a couple good years and then another down year. And just that inconsistency makes it hard to plan, makes it hard to reward your team, and feel good about it, knowing that you're going to have that same amount of business coming in. And then I remember always thinking, in January, thinking about the year ahead. Well, you got this plan on paper and it's going to be a great year. And then you get halfway through it or towards the end of it and projects are sliding into the next year. And it's just like, man, it just never turned out the way I was hoping it would turn out. Budgets would be off. A lot of that had to do with, COVID and price increases and but not understanding those costs and, thinking you were going to do this on one job and it come in a lot less than you were hoping for. Then again, I think I mentioned it, but the team, always felt like they weren't pulling in the same direction. They weren't getting behind me. And then you had, crash landings on jobs, where you get to the closing and just everything's chaos and everybody's stressed and everybody's miserable. And it's just, they just, you sense that on your team. And then, weekly meetings, want to have a weekly meeting with your team so we could be all on the same page. And you'd often leave there, super frustrated and everybody's mad at each other. And then you're like, well, we don't even need to have meetings. And so you stop having meetings for a couple of weeks. And then you're like, oh, we need to get back together, and because nobody's on the same page anymore.
Hey guys, Todd here. And if you're a custom home builder, a remodeler, or a general contractor, and you'd like to learn how to get paid for estimates, if you're tired of giving away your time and expertise, giving away 30, 60, 80 hours a month, every month for free, then there's a free masterclass that we're making available to you for the first time in a few years. It's our Get Paid for Estimates masterclass that hundreds of builders, remodelers, and GCs have used in the past few years to end the practice of free estimates. When you enroll in this free masterclass, there are three main things that you'll learn. Number one, you'll learn that your ideal customer wants to pay you for pre-construction work because it's in their best interest. Number two, you'll learn that it's really not hard to sell your prospect on it when you get clear on just a few things. And then number three, you'll learn the 5-piece Get Paid for Estimates bridge that you need to have in place in order to finally get paid for estimates. You'll get everything you need to get paid for estimates. The sales scripts with the exact questions you can ask your prospect to get them to see the value in it, an agreement template you can use, pricing guidance. You'll hear interviews with builders and remodelers and general contractors who have done this successfully. You're going to get everything you need to have the confidence to go out and actually do it. So if you're ready to end the practice of free estimates, then go enroll in the free Get Paid for Estimates masterclass over at constructionleadingedge.com/start today. Hit pause on this episode, go to constructionleadingedge.com/start, START, and let's join the movement to end the practice of free estimates. Now, let's get back to the episode. So inconsistency, crash landings, and missed expectations. How would you describe how that frustration felt for you as you tried to solve those things?
You keep on, like, well, you just got to keep on going, keep on grinding. But is it ever going to change? That thought comes in your mind. You hear about the flywheel, Jim Collins, big, massive wheel, and you push and push and push. And eventually it's going to gain momentum, it's going to start to accelerate. And then, I always felt like we're on the cusp of that, but it's just like, is this ever going to happen? And so just, yeah, frustration, just, man, you keep on working so hard, and when are things going to get smoother, and just, it's just so frustrating when you put all that effort in, and you don't feel like you're seeing any results from that.
And in a lot of cases, there are some ripple effects when you're frustrated like that. And when you could see it, but you just can't seem to get there. What were some of the ripple effects of that frustration?
Well, again, when you operate out of those emotions, frustration, sometimes that turns into being angry, and you don't lead well. I always think, and I've heard thought recently, when you're playing sports, if you have a free mind, clear mind, and you can go operate and you're not worried or playing out of fear or whatever, they perform the best. Athletes perform their best when they're operating from that zone, versus if you're stressed out and you're frustrated or you're not happy with your team, you're just not going to perform at your best level.
Yeah, I think some people play to win, then some people play not to lose. And it's the same way in business. What do you think happens when people are playing in business, when they're playing not to lose? They're just trying to avoid mistakes and not go out of business. What happens in that mindset?
Well, for me, I would say, every little mistake that happens, every little bill, that comes in that's maybe over budget, you're just focusing on the negative, and you're focusing on just what's going wrong. And so you're always, criticizing, the guys that are working for you, and just, again, nobody operates well under those circumstances. And so when you're always nitpicking and just complaining or just unhappy with the way things are going, just because you're focused on every little negative thing that's happening, you have to sometimes embrace those mistakes and say, hey, there's an opportunity where we can grow.
Talk about that a little bit. Some people are like, whoa, you're talking crazy now, embracing mistakes as an opportunity to grow. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I'd say a couple weeks ago we had something that came up as a mistake. We're supposed to get something done out in the field that didn't happen, and so instead of maybe old ways, I would have gotten mad or upset or come down a little bit harder on somebody about that. It's like, all right, well, that's great that we found this. Let's figure out how we can make sure it never happens again. What do we need to do in our schedule template? What do we need to incorporate into that? How do we build that into the process so it doesn't happen again? So it's a great that we found it, and so how do we eliminate that from happening again?
Yep. I like it. So, talk about the point at which you felt like the work you were doing, you put these systems in place, you did all the work, worked on yourself as a leader. Talk about the point where you realized that the work you were doing was actually working. You were actually making progress to solve those problems.
I think the first instance was about a year ago. Actually, we hired Suzanne on our team. It was a year ago yesterday. And when I hired her and another superintendent last summer, we had put in a lot of work on, building the foundations, kind of the framework for our company and the accountability chart, putting that vision together, talking about core values, and, worked on the client guidebook, and so was able to put that in front of those new hires and show them, hey, this is how we operate. And, I heard a lot of times from potential candidates that's refreshing to see, companies that are, somebody that's doing these things. And so like, wow, that kind of helps the cause. And then when they start, you already have kind of a plan in place, and they know how to jump in. And then I would say Brad, who's been with me for almost at least 10 years, I think, and he's now moved from the field into the office as an estimator. And sometimes it takes a minute for Brad to completely buy into something that we're doing. And so I remember, I think it was in January or December of this, 6-8 months ago, and he read the book Traction, which is something that I'd read that you'd recommended. And when I could really feel him pulling in the same direction as me. And so when he's speaking some of the same language, saying some of the same things and saying that to the other teammates. When you got somebody on your side, then it's just like, all right, that's great, and it just gets a lot easier, to get buy-in from the rest of the guys when it's not just me saying it.
I know we had a couple of conversations. I spent a couple of days with your team a year and a half ago. I guess it was January, February of 2022. And I remember like this, I'm not sure how bought in some people are with where you're headed. And you said, don't worry, it's going to be all right. And you absolutely did. They got bought in, all pulling in the same direction with these changes and these foundations that you put in place. So let's talk about some of the foundations, some of the big changes that you've worked on. It seems like you've put several crucial systems in place in your business over the past year and a half that have contributed to getting you where you're at. So can you talk about the impact of a few of them? And I'll list a few here that we've been working on. Can you talk about the impact of something we've mentioned briefly, getting paid for pre-construction, switching over from the free estimate to the pre-construction services agreement? What has been most impactful for you about that?
I think treating that as almost a standalone kind of service, outside of construction, and you're going into the pre-construction phase and planning ahead and getting that job completely ready to go out to the field as much as possible, and investing and feeling good about investing that time, because you are getting paid for that, and you're not just doing it for free, and you're not just doing just enough to get the project started, and then we'll figure out the rest as we go. And so one, just feeling good about investing that time in the project, and putting the effort in to get all the decisions made, to lead the customer through that process and really understand what they want in their house. And there's so many things, so many moving parts that go into a house. You have to spend the time, and then figuring out exactly what that's going to cost. And so now you go into a job and your budgets are very good, and you feel good about those, and you can feel good about moving forward. And so then you get all that work done, and the customers can sit back and enjoy the process. There's fewer selections to be made, there's fewer change orders, and then it goes a lot smoother.
Yeah, so we've decided around here at Construction Leading Edge to declare war on free estimates, because it's just those two words, the free estimate, are the root cause of so many problems. So if you're listening to this and you're like, yes, I'd love to get paid for pre-construction, but I have no idea how to do it, and I'm a little scared, and I'm afraid lots of bad things are going to happen. They're going to come out with pitchforks. The town will come out with pitchforks and torches if I ever try it. Then we're giving away an entire toolbox full of everything you need to get paid for estimates. So go to constructionleadingedge.com/start, enroll in a free masterclass, and go get yourself paid for estimates. It'll revolutionize your business. So the next one was, you spent a lot of time designing your accountability chart and identifying your core values. What has been most impactful about that for you?
Yeah, so the accountability chart, essentially, we've split up into 4 different kind of teams in our overall team, and we've got construction, we've got finance, you got sales, and then kind of added in the pre-construction, just because of that importance. And so really defining those lanes and who's in each lane, and really defines who's accountable for what needs to happen. And I've always thought that it's a great filter for decision making. So I remember when we first implemented that, email came across, and my instinct was to go ahead and answer that, but I thought about the accountability chart and it's like, well, that's not my lane. I need to stay out of that. And I think I started the draft and I ended up deleting it. And so as those decisions come across, all right, well, who's responsible for that? And a lot of times it's easy to say, well, that's not sales or that's not finance, but then, construction or pre-construction. And so you got to let the right person handle it, because then you're either stepping on somebody's toes if you're getting into somebody else's lane, or things fall through the cracks if it's not clearly defined who's responsible for what. So it's really just a great foundation and framework um, for the company and to make decisions. And then also, um, it really came into play when we had a key employee leave last June. And within 24 hours, I was able to have a job description ready and out because we knew exactly what we needed. We knew what roles we needed to be taken care of and who we need to go get. And that helped us decide what type of person we need to get, what type of personality fits that role. And so, again, we've hired Suzanne was a year yesterday, and I'm just thankful that she's on our team. She's doing an amazing job, and just excited about what she's doing.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a huge one. You've also spent a lot of time on your customer guidebook. Can you talk about what exactly that is and what the impact has been?
Yeah, so definitely not sending this guidebook out to clients yet, but what it really did for me was to write down a process. And from if I were to explain to our clients, hey, this is how it's going to go, and from the very beginning to the very end through warranty, and hey, here's how many, here are our hours. We're working from 7:30 to 4:30 or whatever they may be. We're going to be using co-construct, to handle all the communication, and just really going through that process of getting what's in my head on paper and writing it down for what that customer journey needs to look like. And then we've been, we pulled from that document that we created last, second quarter, I guess, of last year, and we've taken that verbiage and put it into co-construct and the client notes, but it's just, and then that's another document I gave to our new hires, so when they onboard, that they know what this process looks like. And so just and then one day I'm gonna, create maybe a coffee table book, and that's, it's how home building works, and just, write it not in all the jargon of construction people, but so clients can understand that.
And then one of the things you spend a lot of time on, which is a big deal around here, is nailing the handoff. So for folks who aren't familiar with what that term means, can you talk about what nailing the handoff means to you, and then what has been the impact of doing that?
Yeah, so really last third quarter last year spent a lot of effort on this process, and so the handoff, if you think of the analogy of a relay race and track, you're going to hand the baton off to the next guy, and so from construction, handing it off to the construction team, you want to give them all the information they need to go succeed. And so we worked on the entire, just like we have a construction schedule, from footings all the way through closing, we built a schedule for our pre-construction. So we signed a pre-construction agreement. What's the next thing that needs to happen? And then what's the next thing that needs to happen after that? And what's the next thing that needs to happen after that? All the way through signing a construction agreement and then handing the job off to our construction team. We actually have a baton, kind of corny, I guess, that I bought a baton off Amazon and had our logo put on there, and so at every handoff meeting we have that baton out, and just as a symbol that, hey, we're hopefully doing a great job of handing off everything that the construction needs to have so they can go do that. And then it's also a roadmap for our client. We've got it set up so that we can lay out exactly what's going to happen next, because clients always want to know when you're talking to them. All right, so what's next? And so if you can go ahead and show them that, then they feel more confident in who you are and what's going to happen, between now and the time you start construction, because they usually want to get started next week, and it's usually not going to be able to happen that quickly.
I'm curious, have there been any financial impacts? Like, some people are probably listening to this thinking, that's all sounds great, but what's the upside? What's the business case for nailing the handoff? It seems like a lot of work to do this. What's the business case for this? What money gets saved? What profit bleeds get eliminated? How is nailing the handoff helping you make more money? That's probably the best question. Yeah. How does nailing the handoff help you make more money, if at all?
Yeah, I would say absolutely it does. I would say first and foremost, construction schedules get a little tighter. You're eliminating some wasteful days because you're not waiting around on decisions. And so the sooner you can get done with a project, the better. And the more projects you're probably going to be able to close in a year. Secondly, you've answered most of the questions, if not all of those, on what's gonna go in. You've written clear specifications, and so you're not having to give things away. Well, we didn't really address that. You can't go back to the customer now, and then you've built that into your budget, so you've captured all your costs, and then again, customer satisfaction. If you can go back and be on budget with your clients and they're happy, then what are they going to do? They're going to go tell the next, their friends that, hey man, building with this company was great. They hit their budget. That's doesn't happen in construction, right? And so that's our goal. And so hopefully, it's fewer mistakes, shorter construction, times, and then hopefully better client satisfaction.
I like an analogy that you used about turning tables, or is that in a restaurant? Can you can explain that better than me? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I was in college. I think I had a job at Planet Hollywood, and as a in that restaurant. And so turning tables is how you make do better as a business. Is you get people in, you get them out, and you get to seat the next customer. And so you turn tables. And so the more tables you turn, the better you're going to do. And so, you apply that to building houses or doing remodels, and the more projects that you can get done in a given year, the better you're going to do. And so just being efficient. I mean, I love J. Alexander's. That's a great, restaurant. They do a great job of, getting you in, getting you out. Customer service is great. Food's great. And, but that's obviously why they're a successful restaurant.
I think there's a misconception, especially for cost plus builders. So like, I'm cost plus. So my time's covered. I can only make so much money. But if you're a cost plus builder, if you have schedule overruns, then you're getting hammered by opportunity costs. And one of the best ways to improve your bottom line is to turn tables faster, finish your projects faster, turn days into dollars at the highest rate possible. And I think that's an opportunity cost that's hitting a lot of people. Let's talk about the CEO schedule and routines. That's something you spend a lot of time on. How has that been impactful for you?
You hear the phrase "work on your business, not in your business" a lot. And so end of last year, really focused in on how I was spending my time, as the leader, as the CEO, and being very intentional about blocking out time to work on your business and on your systems. And so I think one phrase that you've talked about is, how is this going to be the last time I ever work on this problem? And so what system can I put in place so we don't have to deal with this, so we don't have to make the same decision over and over and over. And so being intentional with that time, has been super important. Like Mondays are my financial day, and Tuesdays I work with the pre-construction team. Wednesdays I work specifically on things to help improve the business, and then Thursdays, we have our team sync meeting, where we're talking as a leadership team what we need to do, what issues we need to solve. And then on Fridays, I'm really focused in on sales and following up with leads and reaching out to referral sources. And then just every day, starting the same day with the same routine. Here's the things that I need to do, and then here's the things at the end of the day I need to do and get ready for the next day.
So speaking of things that need to be done every day, every week, there's a concept that you've really latched onto and run with, which is the concept of the Big Five for your team. Can you talk about what the Big Five concept means for you and what you've done with that concept?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, it's really defining what winning looks like for each team member in a way that they can really understand. It's not vague, it's very specific. We talked about the accountability chart as being the what needs to be done. This is the how it needs to be done. And so what are the Big Five daily and weekly activities that each team member can focus on? And if they're doing these things, it's going to set themselves up for success and being able to accomplish the what of the accountability chart. So all right, superintendent, well, you need to be taking pictures every day of all the new activity. You need to be posting job logs. You need to be updating your schedule. And every week you need to be communicating with your client. And then every week you need to be, dedicating enough time to your schedule to really plan ahead for the next couple weeks. And so just being very intentional and very specific on what habits and routines they can develop.
And how has that helped your team? How has it helped the business? What results have you seen from the Big Five concept, if any?
Yeah, so one, you're starting to see these things that where they're communicating with the clients, and so if the client knows that they're going to get a weekly email from one of our field guys saying, hey, here's what happened, here's what we're hoping to happen next week, and here's some things that need to happen on your end, then they're going to call you less during the week, and so that's freeing up time for our field guys, and then it keeps that client very happy. I mean, we just seen so many times that the clients say, wow, we love that. And then another thing that I've recently, just one-on-one meetings with a team member, take them to lunch and, hey, how are you doing on your Big Five? Hey, are you doing this every week? Yeah, I'm doing that. Well, here's why we can see it's helping, or, well, maybe I'm not doing that as much as I need to. And so it's really easy to kind of walk through those, and it's not a blame game. It's not, but it's talking about, hey, well, maybe you try this and this will help. And so thinking of what they can do on a daily and weekly basis. It's not like once a year you're doing these things. Well, you should have done this 6 months ago. It's like, no, we're focused in on every week. If you do these things, it's going to help set you up, for success.
Yeah. And I really like a picture you texted me a month or two ago, these laminated Big Five cards. You actually printed off and laminated cards of these are the Big Five for a couple of different roles. And what I love about the Big Five concept is every person can know. They're wondering, like, what really matters? What does winning look like for me? What are the habits and routines that I can do every day, every week, every 2 weeks that will set me up for success? And all they have to do is look at their Big Five. It's like, what should I be doing right now to win? And when you think about most job descriptions that have 20, 30, 40 lines on there that are vague and they're not measurable, what I love about the Big Five concept is you can boil that stuff down into habits, actionable, measurable habits, routines that will lead to the outcomes you want. And I love the fact that you laminated those cards and handed them out to people so they know exactly what they need to be doing. Talk about the team sync. I think this is a concept that I'll let you talk about it. What have been the biggest impacts from your weekly team meetings that you call your team sync?
So yeah, every Thursday, head of construction, head of pre-construction, and so there's 4 of us actually that get together, and we start each meeting out by sharing how another teammate has displayed the vision. So how has somebody else on the team, exceeded the expectations of a client or another teammate or a trade partner. And so one, somebody goes around and shares something about another teammate. So I think that's a great thing. And then we really try to focus in on, what are our issues and what do we need to solve and how can we do this together? And so just we've gotten in a rhythm and a cadence that's been very productive, and we're leaving there like we feel like we've accomplished some things, and it's not leaving those meetings frustrated with one another, but not to say there's not tense moments or we have disagreements, but learn how to work through those and solving problems is the main objective.
And the last system I want to talk about, it's not really a system, more of a strategic initiative, is your network of preferred architects and realtors. Why are you doing that? And talk about how that's what that looks like.
Yeah, so I've really try to focus in on realtors and architects because they are a source of referrals of potential projects, and there a lot of times they're talking to people that want to build homes before we do, and if I can connect with them and show them how we operate, show them our pre-construction services, and really, you know, bring us to the front of their mind that we're hopefully the custom builder of choice, and so just trying to essentially grow our sales team and bring them as part of our team and treat them that way. And so I've really been trying to focus on that and make those relationships and build those relationships with those folks that are in our industry.
I think that's kind of a novel concept for some people. They think, well, I have to do SEO and Google ads and hows and go find people one at a time. But what you're saying is your strategy is go build relationships with people who can refer business and bring business to you. Is that right?
Absolutely. And then that's, going to help them as well.
I think the value to the builder is pretty clear, but how is it going to help them? How is your relationship with an architect or a realtor adding value to them? In other words, what's in it for them to be part of your network?
Well, I think in the work that we've done on the pre-construction process, and trying to really just tee it up for the architects, hey, we're going to be the liaison between you and the client. We're going to get all the information and as much information and really make their jobs easier, and so when the architect has that information, they don't have to go back and fix things over and over and over again, and if we can help, link up what it's going to cost to what they're doing and speak the same language that they do, but interact with the customers more, then it makes their job easier. So if they can see the value of what we're doing, and they're going to be like, wow, yeah, you guys need to go see Gregg Homebuilding Company. And then, realtors the same way. They want happy clients. They don't want to have to hear from their clients that the process was terrible. And so if they feel comfortable referring, us because we do such a great job, then it's going to make their life easier. And again, they get paid on commissions, and architects get paid on contracts to draw plans. So if we can all work together to help do that, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a great business development strategy, is build a network of referral partners where it's win-win. I scratch your back, you scratch my back, everybody wins when customers are satisfied. All right, so you've put a bunch of work in over the past year and a half or so. You're getting paid for pre-construction, you've got your accountability chart in place, you're nailing the handoff, got your big five, your CEO schedule, worked on your leadership skills. How's life different for you now after all this work you've done, the systems you've put in place?
Well, I think if you're, I feel like I'm usually excited about starting the week off about Mondays. And if you're looking forward to it, I think that's probably a sign that things are going okay. Go home every afternoon and not super stressed. Obviously there's always things I'm thinking about, but I can go home and enjoy my family and then just, feel a great vibe and energy from our team members. I think you can see them enjoying what we're doing and not as stressed out. And so I think all that work is finally, you can see those fruits, in our team members and family life and, just the way I'm feeling. Obviously it's never, home building's a hard business, but most everything you do in life is. And so, but keep that in perspective and just keep on going to work every day and be excited to show up and do it.
What have been some of the positive ripple effects of all this work you've done, either on your customers, your team, your family, yourself?
My family, definitely has probably appreciated me not always thinking about stressing out about work, so I think that carries over for sure. There I can be more focused on them and when I'm at home and then, like Brad, I mentioned him before, and I think he's working out every morning now. He's going walking every morning. And so seeing him invest some time in himself personally and, is a good thing. And yeah, just people, just hear, the guys and the gals at our office, liking being here. And so that's just exciting to hear.
Yeah. And you were able to take a couple of trips recently, which the idea of getting away from a business the size of yours seems like a dream for a lot of people, like an impossible dream, even to get away for a weekend sometimes without dealing with texts and emails. How do you feel like the work you've done has helped you travel and be able to get away from the business for several days or a week at a time?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to go on a couple trips for my in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary to celebrate that, and I was able to go and enjoy and not really think about work very much, and occasional email here or there, but really everything was covered by the guys and Suzanne and everything was taken care of, and so yeah, being able to do that's awesome. I remember first house I ever built back in '08 maybe. I was on vacation with my family and was out, negotiating a sale of the house on the first one, standing outside of the home we were staying in. And so just, always hard, always here or always felt like it was hard to leave and hard to come back. But now it's a little bit easier. So just with our team members doing what they're doing.
Nice, nice. You've been to several live meetups that we've hosted. You're also part of the CEO Alliance. What would you say is the most valuable part for you about being in a group of other like-minded construction business owners?
One, we can talk about things that we're dealing with, and we understand what that really means. I've probably said so much to my wife Amy that she's heard it all, and she don't want to hear it anymore, and she's heard all the problems. But and then you can't really talk to friends about some of these things, and I've talked to my dad, my father-in-law a lot about these things over the years, but just talking to people that really understand and can speak the same language and know exactly what you're talking about and hear what they have to say and how they've dealt with it and get some great ideas from them is just awesome.
What's the best part about that for you?
Well, one, I've felt like I've really made some great friends out of it, and get to bounce ideas off of them, and it's actually a good space for me to practice articulating what I'm thinking, and they can say, well, that may not be. You may want to do this or that and change the way you say this or that because I've done it this way and it didn't really work out, or I did it this way and it worked out. So just a good space to bounce ideas off one another. And then, it's almost like a board of trustees, and so you operate in your business and, just being able to run stuff by, a group of guys and gals that understand, exactly what's going on and they've done some of the same things, and so you draw from their experience without making the same mistake.
I talked to a guy recently who's early on in his business, and he said something kind of crazy. He said, "Yeah, I think I just like to make my own mistakes, figure it out on my own." And I said, well, that's one way to do it. It is good to learn from your own mistakes, but it's even better to learn from other people's mistakes. And what's even better than that is learn from other people's successes. So, but if you want to go enroll in the School of Hard Knocks, then go for it. But I've never heard anybody say, I think I just want to go out and make my own mistakes and learn the hard way. So I'm sure he will.
Yeah, a little more painful that way.
Yeah. I've paid a lot, hundreds of thousands of dollars in what Dave Ramsey would call stupid tax. When you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And when you go, I've made lots of mistakes that actually people told me they were a bad idea, but I just didn't listen. So if I had been part of a group of people and had given them, if I would have listened to their advice, like, I don't think you want to do that, Todd. That's a bad idea. All kinds of red flags going up. You can save yourself a lot of trouble, a lot of heartache, and a lot of lost money just by being part of a group of other people that you can bounce those ideas off. Switching gears, you had one of the questions I like to ask is, what's a favorite failure of yours? And you had an interesting experience early on with a personality test. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so when I decided to get out of teaching high school and coaching, I wanted to get back in or get into the home building industry. I went and interviewed for with a couple different companies, and one of those companies gave me a personality test, and I took that, and they came back and said, well, you're not going to be the right fit. Your personality doesn't really match up with what we're looking for, and so I end up with a copy of that, and I've got it, taped up to the side of my file cabinet over here, and a lot of times that's motivation to prove them wrong that I could do it, and that I, hopefully have been successful. So
Yeah, I think their analysis was a little off there. I would say you did have what it takes to do that. What's one thing that you believe to be true about business some people would say is unconventional, maybe even a little crazy?
well, I would say from personal experience that you don't always have to have that exact experience or background to go run a business. And, I never took business classes in high school or college, and one accounting course. I remember when I first got hired on at Pulte Homes, as the assistant back end superintendent, pretty much the lowest on the totem pole. A guy asked me to caulk something, and I'd never even caulked. And I was like, I'm not exactly sure even how to do that. And so kind of embarrassing as a construction guy, but but just you don't have to have that experience, and really the leap of faith is the hardest part. To go if you have the drive and motivation, the desire to go do something on your own, you just gotta go for it, and you can figure it out. You just got to put your head down and learn and get constantly get better.
I agree. I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of just making a firm decision what you're going to do. And if you'll make a firm decision, you can make a firm decision and then be persistent, just not quit. I think you can do just about anything you want. That's what I found. It's all about persistence.
Yeah.
We've mentioned habits and routines a little bit. Can you talk about some of your thoughts on habits and routines and how they have played into the success you've seen over the past couple of years?
Yeah. So I just feel like building those habits and those routines and just going to make you more efficient and do things just systematically. You don't have to think through everything every single time. And then it's kind of counterintuitive that, if you have all these habits and routines, that it can be kind of restrictive. It's going to prevent you from doing this, if you have to follow these rules every single time. But what it does is actually kind of freeing. It gives you freedom because you don't have to think about it. You're not wasting your mental energy on what do I need to do. I show up every morning at work, and you start doing the same thing. Doing the same things over, and you're ready to go within a couple minutes. Versus, well, what do I have to do today, and think through that, and get a phone call, and then things have changed already, and so with these habits and routines, it's just set you up for a good day, and then preparing yourself for the next day to get ready to go.
Jocko Willink, one of the authors of Extreme Ownership, talks about this concept of discipline equals freedom. Mm-hmm. So it's habits and routines. Well, they feel like constraints. They are constraints, but they give you freedom. So if you want to have more free time, you need to be disciplined with your time. You need to have habits and routines. If you want to have more financial freedom, you need to be disciplined with your money. So it's just a counterintuitive concept. Yeah, good stuff. All right, couple of rapid fire lightning round questions for you. Where's the best place in Franklin or Nashville to eat?
Oh, there's so many great places.
You got to pick
if you
one.
If you like hot chicken, Hattie B's hot chicken or Prince's hot chicken are pretty good spots there. And then my personal favorite is San Antonio Taco Company on 21st Avenue. And I love that place.
Gotcha. Favorite leadership book?
I would say Traction by Gino Wickman.
Okay. Speaking of books, what's the book you're reading right now?
Book I am reading right now would be The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes.
Machine. Okay.
Yeah.
What's a band that you like that people might be surprised to find out that you like.
My favorite band of all time is Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam. Okay. And where's the best place to fly fish? You got to be specific. Which river, which state?
South Fork of the Snake River in Idaho.
South Fork of the Snake River in Idaho. Very good. That could have been the most valuable stuff right there. I don't know. But no, I think it was great. Well, Alex, thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time to be on here. If folks want to connect with you and learn more about you, follow you on the interwebs, maybe even apply for a job someday, see about joining the team, where's the best place or places for them to go?
Yeah, first go to our website at gregghomebuilding.com, Gregg. There's 2 G's in there, homebuilding.com. And you can get in contact with us that way, see some of our projects and some of the things we're doing. So then also for some Instagram's a great place, at Gregg Homebuilding is another great spot to go check out some of our recent work.
Yeah. Your Instagram page is beautiful. Very high quality photos, beautiful stuff.
Need to thank my wife, Amy, for that.
Amy. Good job, Amy. All right. Well, thanks, man. This has been great stuff. I appreciate you taking the time to be on here and share. It's been a pleasure working with you, and look forward to continuing to work with you. And folks, go check out Alex's website, follow him on Instagram, and most importantly, take action. Do something with this content. Thanks, Alex. Talk soon. Hey, it's Todd again. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to check out the show notes for more details over at constructionleadingedge.com/podcast. And if you get value out of this podcast, would you do me a favor? Would you please leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify? And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you own a construction business and you feel stuck, or you feel like you're spending too much time in day-to-day firefighting, maybe dealing with all of the problems, if everything's stuck in your head, or if you just don't feel like you have time or energy to work on your business because you feel like you're stuck working in it, if you want your business to run without you so you can take a vacation, or maybe to be able to sell your business one day, or if you just frankly want the business to survive if something happens to you, then there are 4 crucial systems that you need to have in place. Number 1, if you're a home builder, remodeler, or commercial general contractor, you have to get paid for estimates. Those free estimates are killing your bottom line, sucking the life out of you. And you can get all the tools you need to get paid for estimates, the templates, sales scripts, pricing guidance, and let's face it, the confidence that you need. You can get all of that for free right now over at constructionleadingedge.com/start. You'll get the entire Get Paid for Estimates masterclass. Go to constructionleadingedge.com/start. You can get all of that for free. The second crucial system is that you need to design your business for the future. You need to establish the major functions of your business and the results that each function is accountable for. You need to have clearly defined roles and responsibilities. This is the foundation of every successful business, and the best way to do that is to design your accountability chart for the future. Number 3, you need to design and document your process to nail the handoff from the office to the field. This is a very disciplined and documented process that maps out every step of the pre-construction process. Look, companies that are good construction companies are actually good pre-construction companies. They're good pre-construction companies. And when you design your nail the handoff process and you have this in place, this is going to eliminate 80% of the profit bleeds and the schedule delays and chaos on your job sites. And you'll also need to learn the secret sauce for getting your team to actually implement and follow a process. Number 4, the 4th crucial system are the leadership systems that your team will use to convert your goals into reality. Look, somebody needs to be planning tomorrow's work today. Someone needs to be doing a 2-week look ahead. Someone needs to be establishing the most important things for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And you need to be having regular team meetings that are actually functional. Those are your leadership systems. And if you would like our help putting those crucial systems in place in your business so that your business can run without you, so you can get out of day-to-day firefighting and take that firefighter hat off, or if you want to be able to sell your business one day, here's the next step. Go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply and schedule a free business evaluation call with our team. On that call, we're going to do a few things. We'll help you uncover the real root causes of your problems. Number 2, help you get clear on your objectives that you want to accomplish. And then number 3, to map out a plan to make it a reality. We'll also share with you some of the things that our construction business owner clients are doing to accomplish their goals and solve the problems that you're probably dealing with. And then if you're a fit, if it looks like we have a good mutual fit, we'll discuss our Systematize Your Construction Business program. So to schedule your free business evaluation, head on over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY. Hey, thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.